Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NYU Returns webinar on financial support. Please note that closed captioning is available for this session. My name is Hedia Cesar, and I'm the Senior Manager for Administration and Special Projects in the Office of Global Programs and University Life. With me today are Natasha Bean, the Program Director for Financial Education, Tony Bonano, the University Bursar, and Lynn Higinbotham, Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. Thank you all for joining us. Can you each take a moment to describe your offices and your roles?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Natasha Bean. I'm the Program Director of Financial Education at NYU. So financial education basically is an office that helps students understand what's commonly known as financial literacy. We help empower students to make the best responsible financial choices that contribute to their overall success as they are a student and then beyond.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tony Bonano. I'm the University Bursar. Our office is responsible for the maintenance of the student account and the billing and charges on the student account.
Good morning, Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynn Higinbotham. I'm the Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. In my role, I help to lead the Office of Financial Aid. That is a fantastic team committed to doing what they can to help our students and families navigate the financial aid process successfully. And I'm looking forward to our session today to make sure that we're all prepared as we head into this very unique semester. And thank you too, Hedia.
Of course, thank you all for taking time out of course, I know, a busy summer for all of us. I'd like to remind our viewers that we're going to be starting off with some questions that were submitted in advance, and we will also be taking questions from the audience. So if you have a question, please click the Q&A button. And we'd like to remind you that we will be only answering questions about financial support today. So if anyone asks a question that would be better answered in a future webinar session, please know that we will pass those questions along to those panelists. Many of the questions submitted in advance were also related to on-campus employment. And we are currently working on scheduling a webinar with the Wasserman Center. So please check the NYU Returns webinar page for updates. And with that, let's get started. Lynn, I'd like to begin with you with the question of, will taking remote-only classes impact students' financial aid?
Thank you for that question, Hedia. I just want to back up first and say a couple of things. Just for context, most of what we are talking about this morning pertains to NYU New York students, so I wanted to clarify that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that there will be a lot of information that you hear throughout the session. I wanted to make sure that people knew that we have a student services hub called Student Link, and we encourage all of our students and families, if they have questions about their own financial aid or their own process, their own financial process with billing or with financial education, to please seek out the services of Student Link. They can answer your general questions that are very specific to your situation, or they can refer you to a specialist in any one of our offices. So we just wanted to make sure that people were getting the information and knew that we were available at all times for Zoom walk-in or Zoom appointments, and people should take advantage of that as well. So thank you. So back to your question, Hedia. Could you repeat the question? So everyone in the audience is aware? Go ahead.
Of course. Will taking remote-only classes impact students' financial aid?
Great question. So your financial aid eligibility will not be impacted if you choose to, your curriculum to be remote. As long as you are otherwise eligible for financial aid, the remote piece of that will not impact your eligibility overall.
Great. And are there also scholarships available for students who are taking remote-only classes?
So there aren't scholarships specifically because you're remote, but of course, as I mentioned before, if you're eligible for financial aid otherwise, your financial aid eligibility and your financial aid package will stay intact even though you are remote. So that choice of being remote shouldn't, your financial aid shouldn't impact your choice of being remote. We want people to be comfortable with all of their choices.
Thank you for clarifying. And another question that has come up is, what if we didn't sign up for a dormitory due to COVID-19 spring 2020's outrageous spike? And what if we're planning to live in an apartment? Can we use our leftover scholarship money after we pay our tuition to take care of our rent?
Okay, I'm going to rephrase this a little bit. So I believe the question is, if you were on campus last year, and your financial aid therefore was based on an on-campus cost of attendance, but this year you've decided to be off campus and be remote, how will your financial aid be impacted now that you will no longer have your housing charges and your meal charges because you're taking care of that separately? So I believe that reframes the question a little bit. And basically what would happen is that your financial aid would still apply towards your tuition and your registration charges and any other charges that you had that were reflected on your bill. Because you no longer have the meal plan charges and the housing charges, anything that you had in excess, I believe you said leftover, would be refunded. Tony's office would do that. It would either go to students in a refund, and certainly students can use that after all of their direct charges are already accounted for. They can use that refund to apply to their other educational expenses. So indeed, that could be applied to rent. Does that clarify?
That is, and actually that's a perfect segue to Tony. Could you describe the current payment plans, and what if we need more flexible plan as we've been impacted by the pandemic and folks need more time?
Oh, absolutely. We have two different payment plans that are geared to help students pay their tuition. One is a payment plan that 50% of the tuition is due upfront, and then the balance is over 2 more payments. And then we have another plan that you can separate your tuition payments into 4 equal payments. And naturally, if those plans don't meet the students' demands, we're ready to speak to students on an individual case-by-case basis to give them a little more flexibility in terms of making their payments, understanding that these are unprecedented times.
Great. Lynn, are there options for undergraduate students who want to enroll full-time in the fall, but they don't want to take a typical 16 credit course load?
Yes, so that is something that is unique to this upcoming academic year. While many students will want to continue taking a full course load, 16 to 18 credits in the fall, 16 to 18 credits in the spring, we also recognize that some students may not want to do that for a whole host of reasons. They might want to have a lighter curriculum in the fall, but still want to be successful and get all their credits in by the end of 2021. So in order to do that, we have offered a series of different enrollment patterns, different flexible semester options that we encourage students to look at to see what might work best for them. And this basically will allow students to take, if they're at least full-time in the fall, they might be able to take some of those extra credits in either Jan term of 21 or the summer of 21. And depending on which enrollment pattern they select, they could get both their tuition and their registration fees covered for those, up to 8 credits in January and in the summer. So there are a lot of different flexible options for students. Again, these are illustrated on a website that is hopefully showing up on your screen right now. And we encourage people to look at that, to consider those options. And anyone who is concerned about the financial aid aspect of this, again, we encourage you to reach out to the financial aid office directly, because everybody's package is different and this might look a little bit different for everyone, but we do want people to be aware that flexibility is really important to us to be able to offer you that flexibility. You won't have to apply for the additional grants if you're otherwise eligible based on your enrollment. So I hope that's helpful. Again, I really encourage you to review that particular website and reach out to us with any additional questions. So thank you.
Natasha, what resources are available for students who have previously depended upon on-campus student employment? What happens to the federal funds that are typically allocated to fund student employment if students are unable to work on campus?
Sure, thanks for the question. I know you did mention that you're trying to get another session with the Wasserman Center, but for folks to understand what's going to happen with their work study, there will be opportunities for students to work either remotely or on campus this fall semester. So students can apply for positions through a tool provided by the Wasserman Center for Career Development. That's our employment office for students, called Handshake. As in the case for any year, positions are very competitive and not guaranteed, but new students will get an invitation to join the Wasserman Center or Handshake in early August, and they can start researching for campus jobs about that time. Also, just to let you know, the Wasserman Center will be having programs during NYU Welcome to further explain that overall process. Regarding the second half of that question and the use of the federal work-study funds allocated to fund student employment, there are strict guidelines as to how work-study can be spent. So the funds are either, if they're not utilized all the way, they're either returned to other institutions to use, or they may be converted into another type of federal aid on a larger university level. But for students, if they did not or could not take advantage of work study as they normally would have, it's just something that if they qualify for it for another year when they file, they'll just be re-offered it again.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. Is there also funding available for those who are impacted by COVID-19?
I'll talk a little bit about external funding and things that might be helpful for folks. There may be funding available through different outside agencies and outside scholarship search services. There's funding out there for students that they can access, not just this first year, but as they are, seeking their careers and understanding what their majors are going to be. We have a list of outside search services on our financial aid and financial education website. So we always advise families to look for those resources, seek outside scholarships, applications, and things that may be required. My office can help with that information.
I'm going to add to that because internally within NYU, we are very sensitive to the fact that a lot of people are being adversely affected by COVID-19 and that their finances are being heavily impacted by that. So there are several ways that students can explore additional funding on top of their traditional financial aid options. So I'm going to go over these briefly. There are really three major resources for students to consider. One is the NYU COVID-19 Emergency Relief Grant. And this grant is available for all students to apply. Degree-seeking students at NYU, they can apply to be considered if they are impacted by the disruption of campus services at NYU due to COVID-19. There's an online application. Students are welcome to submit that. We review those regularly. Students who are approved for those funds are given those funds directly through our Bursar's office, through Tony's office. What students need to do is indicate why they need the funds, the amount that they need. Of course, there are limits to that, so please know it's not unlimited. And we are looking at demonstrated financial need for students who apply, so that is a factor. But students are encouraged to fill that form out if they are feeling that they can't, that they are being restricted by concerns of COVID-19. Another opportunity for students, and this is something that's more traditional, is for returning undergraduate students, there's a regular appeal process. This year, no surprise, due to the ways of the world right now and the pandemic and the impact of that, there seems to be more people appealing than ever. We have a next round of appeal consideration for fall. The deadline for that is September 13th. We've already done one round of reviews. For returning undergraduates who have had a change in their financial situation since they have filled out their FAFSA, so it may or may not be related to COVID, they could apply for the returning undergraduate appeal. So again, if that is, if that's impacting you, you are encouraged to appeal there. There's also another process for students to be considered if their information on their federal financial aid, their FAFSA, if there's been a change in their situation since they filed their FAFSA and they're interested in pursuing additional federal financial aid. And that process is called professional judgment. It's kind of an odd name, but that's what it's called. So federal professional judgment, there should be, again, another link up there so that you can explore how to reach out to the financial aid office. That particular process requires a little bit more documentation because it is a federal process. Students might, the result might impact the student's Pell Grant, their loan eligibility, their work study eligibility. Students who are impacted by COVID-19 can certainly apply for a review for professional judgment as well. A little more restrictive, but again, if you need to be considered, please pursue that option. Additionally, some of the graduate schools, we are aware that some graduate schools have been providing limited resources to support their students as well in extreme circumstances, and the graduate schools will be reaching out to students if that's applicable in their own school. So again, there's a few, to summarize, we have the COVID-19 Emergency Relief Grant, we have the Returning Undergraduate Appeal Form, we have the federal financial aid professional judgment process, and also some of the grad schools may be helping as well. So,
Lynn, thank you so much for walking us through that. That was extremely helpful. To add to that, what if there are students who need additional technology to help ensure they can be successful if they are remote?
Oh, great question. So because we've been remote for a while, hopefully everyone has that piece figured out, but we also know that connectivity issues come up, equipment breaks, the need for technology continues, as I'm sure many of us are sensitive to. So if you are experiencing technical challenges in terms of supporting yourself while you're working remotely, because it's really important to us that you be successful in that space, and finances are hindering you from getting the technology that you need, that you can apply through the COVID-19 Emergency Relief Grant. One of the indicators on the application is technology. You can indicate what your technology concern is, and we will review you for that. One of the things that we're working on with our colleagues in student success and university IT is we are looking to find the least expensive technology options for students. We're pulling that information together, and we plan on sharing that with you with students who have technological needs by the end of August. So we will hopefully have that available to students as an added resource. IT will also be providing help services if students need that. They can call and they can walk you through some of the connectivity or technology needs that you may need. We also are sensitive to the fact that things are happening well before the end of August. And so if students really need to secure funding for technology, they are welcome to apply for the technology funds through the COVID relief grant earlier. And they can do that as long as they're enrolled for the fall, they can apply within the next few weeks.
Great. And Lynn, what additional aid is available for students whose parents have lost work due to COVID-19 and are no longer making as much money as before the pandemic to pay tuition?
Yeah, it's really difficult, and we have heard from many students where that's the case. So we recognize that these are really difficult times for a lot of our students, and we want to do what we can to help them as we head into the fall. Many of the appeal options that I mentioned would be applicable in cases like this. So the returning undergraduate appeal form, the professional judgment form, those would come into play. One other option might be, a lot of times undergraduates have a PLUS loan, parent loan for undergraduate students built into their financial aid package. That loan is typically based on a student or on a borrower, because it's parent borrower, on their credit worthiness. So sometimes if a parent loses their job, it could impact the strength of their credit, and they might be denied for the PLUS loan. In those cases, we strongly suggest that students come to the financial aid office. There is another option for them. We can give them the unsubsidized direct loan in the PLUS loan's place. It's not as much as a PLUS loan, so it's not a full swap. It's a better interest rate. It's the student's loan rather than the parents. But that is another option for students that might be feeling the repercussions of of a parent no longer employed. Other than that, I would just highly suggest that they work with our colleague Tony Bonano and his staff, because the other option is to really work out and be mindful of the different payment plans that might help students and families sort of get through this difficult time. So we want to listen, we want to help, we want people to be able to enroll, we want to help people be able to get to graduation. So while it's certainly not a guarantee that we can do that for everybody, we do like to partner with families and make sure that they can get through this process successfully. So difficult times. Thank you for the question.
Of course, and thank you for answering that. If hardship funding appeal is offered, is it going to reduce any of the current aid eligibility, including loans?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and actually not a simple question to answer. You would think that it would be. So for some context, if a student is getting hardship money from a state or from the federal government, so for instance, NYU has funding through the CARES program, which is a federal program. The Department of Education, which puts forth regulations that we have to abide by, indicates that if in those cases, we do not have to reduce a student's other aid in order for them to get the hardship funding. And up until June 30th, there was a provision in the CARES Act that also allowed institutions, if the institutions were giving hardship funds, not to have to impact a student's other aid. So we were in a good place giving out appeal funding up through June 30th. What we are hoping for now is for an extension in an upcoming package through the federal government that will allow that extension to happen so that we don't have to reduce aid if hardship funds are given to students, whether that be from NYU or from the federal government. So all to say is we're waiting for a package to come out to give us that flexibility. In the meantime, we have to be mindful of the rules and regulations. There are some exceptions where we can do professional judgment for what's called budget appeals and make it work so we don't have to reduce other aid. We are also very mindful that if we do have to reduce aid, we will always select the type of aid that will be least impactful on the student. So we would really prefer not to reduce any other aid. If we do, it's only because it is really mandated through regulation. So again, we are waiting for some upcoming guidance, and hopefully that concern will be addressed. Thank you. Sorry, I knew that wasn't an easy answer, but there you go.
It feels like none of them are. Tony, can I get an extension on paying my bill beyond the stated deadline of August 4th? And will classes be dropped then if not?
In terms of getting an extension, the answer is we will absolutely entertain giving extensions to any students that need them. Basically, we partner with financial aid and student success, Natasha and Lynn and their teams, and get a holistic picture of what's going on with the student account, and then make a determination of how we can help them. To Lynn's point earlier, the goal is to get people to graduate and to get you to finish. So especially during these uncharacteristically difficult times, we'll err on the side of compassion and try to make sure that we can get something that fits for you.
Great. And Natasha, what can financial education do for me?
Financial education can do a whole lot, but actually we are a resource for students, like to help them prepare, make sound financial choices throughout their career. So we have one-on-one coaching with students to help them like make a budget and stick to that. We want to help them get skills like financial goal setting, planning to live like a student while they're here, whether that's remote learning or if they are in person. We want them to understand their money management, banking principles, so that way they can foster an overall positive connection to their finances. If students are taking out loans, we help them figure out, okay, this is the debt I will potentially be graduating with, and what that looks like overall in terms of a repayment. And so we like to sit down with students and help them understand how their financial choices, be it the aid to go to school or the other things that they're doing which could be, going out when we were able to go out, or, delivery fees on things that they may be getting delivered, like, Amazon and stuff. We're trying to help them understand like how this is going to impact them financially overall with these different choices that they're making. So the education or the literacy that we'll be bringing to students will be definitely helpful long-term, not just while they are a student here.
Thank you. And this is a question for all of you, but what is this group going to do to ensure that we don't exacerbate the impact on the most vulnerable communities within NYU?
Well,
Go ahead.
sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
Well, I can speak from a financial aid perspective. As we are reviewing appeals and reviewing financial aid in general, we are very focused on financial needs. So the socioeconomic impact and is very important to us. We want to make sure that we are very sensitive to that. I also want to add that I had mentioned earlier that we have the COVID-19 relief grant. In part, that is funded through our CARES funding, which is for U.S. students who are eligible for financial federal aid. But if you recall, I said that it is open to everyone. So we also are ensuring that our students who are undocumented or our international students should still apply. They will just be funded differently, but the COVID-19 relief grant is really available for everyone. So we just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that. Because we recognize that COVID-19 is impacting everyone, and we want to make sure that we have the services in place to help address that. So excellent question. And Tony, did you want to add to that?
Sure, I'm muted for a second. A colleague of mine once referred to our respective offices as silos of excellence. And with that in mind, in terms of making sure that students are helped, we will collaborate with the Office of Student Success. We collaborate with the Office of Financial Aid, understanding that we are navigating these sort of uncharted waters, and make sure that we collaborate to come to a conclusion on any student on a case-by-case basis and help them as best as we can. That's it.
And financial education is actually housed under student success. So we are definitely part of these review processes with the students to help them understand what's actually going on and just to bring some knowledge around the different things. So within my office, the one-on-one coachings that we do can be for graduates as well as undergraduate students. We, at this point, do make appointments online through our website, which may be listed in the chat at a later point. But we do Zoom appointments, we do phone appointments for students, but we really want to make sure that the information is not just for folks who have financial aid at NYU. We work with students who don't have financial aid. We work with international students as well. Just, this information that we have for students is just so vast that we want to make sure that everybody has access.
Thank you. And Natasha, just to follow up with you, are courtesy meals available this fall?
At this point, there is a Courtesy Meals program available for fall, but there will be further details to follow from that office. So you should just be looking out on the NYU website for the additional information that will follow.
Great. And lastly, how can students reach us for assistance during this time, particularly if they are remote?
Yeah, so for financial aid, it is financial.aid@nyu.edu, or you can give us a call at 212-998-4444. As you can imagine, we are very busy making sure that everyone is prepared for the bill payment due, which is coming up for many students early next week. But we want to make sure that we are helping everyone plan and get through and be prepared for the fall. So please do reach out to us if you need to do so. And also, as I mentioned in the earlier part of our session, Student Link is also a great place to start. Our colleagues at Student Link and our counselors there can help with all sorts of questions that are financial aid, Bursar, registrar related, and you're welcome to reach out to them directly as well. And Tony?
For the Office of the Bursar, we can be reached at 212-998-2806 and also at bursar.studentaccounts@nyu.edu. And our email is available 24/7 and the phones are 9 to 5. So happy to help. And again, to Lynn's point with the Student Link Center, we collaborate with the Student Link Center also, and they are also available for virtual appointments.
And
Natasha?
for financial, thanks, Tony. For financial education, it's best to reach us via email, which is financial.education@nyu.edu. Also, with the Student Link Center, if you speak to them first and you ask to reach out for education or need that additional service, they will reach out to my office and we'll be able to make sure that we can coordinate a time to meet. But that's the best way to reach my area.
Great, that was very helpful. And that's all the time we have for today. I want to ask you all, do you have any final thoughts to share with the group that could be helpful?
Final thoughts. I just want to make sure that everyone is, first of all, taking care of themselves mentally, physically, and financially. We recognize that this is a difficult time for everyone, so we will all want to do our best to make sure that people are able to get their questions answered. I think if you have questions, you're just encouraged to reach out. And we will do our best to work with you as we all try to get through this together. And so, really, those are my final words to people.
I would, and just to piggyback on that, I would agree. Just a reminder that these are uncharted waters, and we're all share the same common goal, which is we want students to complete their education, and we're here to help. Natasha?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. No, that's what we work very collaboratively. So this is what our goals are. So, student success is everybody's business. You'll hear that once you're here. So thanks for all the great questions.
Of course, I would like to thank you all again for joining us, and thank you everyone who was also able to log in and participate. This webinar will be posted on NYU Returns website so that if anyone has missed it, they can view it there. And when you go to the NYU Returns website, I also encourage you to take a moment to check out our previous webinars that have already been posted. Please continue to check NYU Returns for the most up-to-date information about fall 2020. And lastly, I just want to say, I hope everyone stays safe and enjoys the rest of their summer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.